This is education, not tax or financial advice. Please check your own situation with a professional. If you hold an accumulating ETF in Germany, 2026 brought your biggest automatic tax bill yet, even though you never sold a single share. It's called the Vorabpauschale, and this year's rate just hit a record high. In the next few minutes, exactly how it's calculated, what it costs on a real 10,000 euro position, and how much of your portfolio your tax-free allowance actually protects. Vorabpauschale means advance lump sum. It's a deemed minimum return that Germany taxes every January, even on ETFs you never touched. The idea: an accumulating fund reinvests its dividends instead of paying them out. So without this rule, you could defer all real tax until you finally sell, sometimes decades later. The Vorabpauschale closes that gap by taxing a small assumed return each year along the way, calculated from your fund's value on the 1st of January. Before 2018, distributing funds and accumulating funds were taxed very differently, and clever fund selection could shelter gains for years. The 2018 investment tax reform introduced the Vorabpauschale specifically to level that playing field, alongside a flat partial exemption for equity and mixed funds. It's not a penalty for choosing an accumulating ETF, it's the standard mechanism that applies to almost every retail fund held in a German brokerage account. The math has 4 steps. Take your fund's value on the 1st of January, multiply it by 70% of that year's Basiszins, a base rate set annually from German government bond yields. That gives you the Basiszins, the assumed minimum return. And critically, it's capped. You never pay Vorabpauschale on more than the fund actually gained in value that year, and if the fund fell, the Vorabpauschale is 0. That Basiszins is where 2026 gets dramatic. In 2023, it was 2.55%. It dropped to 2.29 in 2024, ticked up to 2.53 in 20, and has now jumped to 3.20% for twins, a jump of 0.67 points in a single year. And rewind further. In 2021 and 2022, the rate was actually negative. So the Vorabpauschale was suspended completely. Investors paid nothing at all. 3.20% is the highest Basiszins since the Vorabpauschale rule began in 2018. That single number is why so many German investors are seeing a noticeably bigger automatic tax charge this January than in any year before it, even on the exact same portfolio. Higher yields on German government bonds are the direct cause. The calculation is tied straight to them, not to how your fund actually performed. This hits accumulating, or the Sorierende, funds the hardest because they never send you a distribution to net against. Distributing funds get a partial offset. If the fund already paid out more in dividends than the Basiszins, no Vorabpauschale is due at all, so the accumulating ETF you chose specifically to avoid manual reinvesting is exactly the structure most exposed to this. If you hold a distributing fund instead, you're not automatically off the hook. The Vorabpauschale still gets calculated the same way. It's just reduced euro for euro by whatever cash distribution you already received and were taxed on. Only if the distribution was smaller than the Basiszins do you owe the difference. A genuinely high-yielding fund can already cover it in full. There's a genuine safety valve here. If your fund's price actually fell over the year or gained less than the Basiszins would imply, you're capped at the real gain or you owe nothing. 2026's higher Basiszins raises the ceiling on what can be taxed. It doesn't guarantee every fund actually hits it. Before any tax is applied, there's one more discount: the Teilfreistellung or partial exemption. Equity funds, anything holding at least 51% stocks, get 30% of the Vorabpauschale exempted outright. Mixed funds with at least 25% equity get 15% exempted. Bond funds and money market funds get none. Most popular world equity ETFs, like an MSCI World or FTSE All-World Tracker, qualify for the full 30%. So does a record Basiszins mean ETFs suddenly cost you money every single January? Not exactly. Remember, in 2021 and 2022, this whole tax was 0 because the base rate was negative. It swung from nothing to a record high in just 4 years. And it will keep moving with German bond yields, not with anything you decide to do with your portfolio. Let's make this concrete. Say you hold 10,000 euros in an accumulating world equity ETF on the 1st of January 2026. The Basiszins is 10,000 euros times 70% of 3.20%. That's 224 euros. Apply the 30% equity exemption and the taxable amount drops to 156 euros 80 cents. At the flat 26.375% capital gains rate, that's a tax bill of about 41 euros 36 cents automatically on a fund you never sold. Scale this up. 50,000 euros in the same accumulating equity ETF produces a Basiszins of 1,120 euros. After the 30% exemption, 784 euros is taxable. At 26.375%, that's about 207 euros. Still under the single Sparerpauschbetrag if you have no other capital income that year, but getting close to using it up entirely. Run that same 10,000 euro position through 2025's lower Basiszins, and the tax comes out to roughly 32.70 euros, meaning 2026's bill is about 26% higher on an identical portfolio that didn't grow at all. That gap is the entire story of this episode, scaled up to whatever you actually hold. Now the good news. Germany gives every investor a Sparerpauschbetrag, a tax-free allowance for capital income, 1,000 euros for singles, 2,000 for married couples filing jointly, unchanged since 2023. File a Freistellungsauftrag with your broker, and this Vorabpauschale is deducted from that allowance first, before any cash actually leaves your account. For most retail-sized portfolios, the allowance alone wipes the whole bill out. So where's the line? Working the formula backwards, a single investor holding roughly 64,000 euros in an accumulating equity ETF and nothing else generating capital income would see the 2026 Vorabpauschale alone use up their entire 1,000 euro allowance. For a married couple with the 2,000 euro allowance, that threshold roughly doubles to about 128,000 euros. Above that, real cash tax starts flowing. Here's the part that surprises people. This is a deemed gain, not a cash payout, but your bank still needs real euros to pay it. For the 2026 tax year, that debit lands around the 4th of January 2027, pulled straight from your settlement account. If there isn't enough cash sitting there, some brokers will sell down a small slice of your position to cover it, an involuntary trade you didn't choose. Practically, file your Freistellungsauftrag with every broker you use, so the allowance actually applies automatically. Keep a small cash buffer in your settlement account each December, especially if you hold a large accumulating position. Don't panic sell over this. The tax is usually small relative to the portfolio, and switching to a distributing fund just moves where the tax bite happens, not whether it happens. Rebalancing or tax loss harvesting rarely offsets a Vorabpauschale specifically, since it's capped at real gains already. And remember, this is education, not personal tax advice. Your bank or a tax advisor can run your exact numbers. 3 things to remember. The 2026 Basiszins, 3.20%, is the highest since this tax began. Your Sparerpauschbetrag shields most ordinary portfolios completely if you filed it, and the tax is automatically debited from cash in early January, so a small buffer saves you an unwanted sale. That's the 2026 Vorabpauschale, decoded. Education, not tax advice. Check your own numbers with a professional. If this helped, like the video, subscribe for more European investing breakdowns, and grab the free newsletter linked below. See you in the next one.